Hey, what's up, Real Worldiacs? Stealing Sean's thing there. So I got a session in Legends last night and got to play a little catch up. If you guys don't remember where I left off, I had with my sort of rival, sort of friend, Kato, broke up this gym training facility that was basically scamming people out of money. Like it was kind of like the poor miners and everything like that. They were telling them like they were teaching them how to fight, and it was awful. Like it was there's gyms out there, but you have to pay for it. And like this was a kind of you get what you pay for. But we managed to break that up. That's why I said we beat up the elderly Super Saiyans. Like there was some older people there helping them run the gym. I think we beat up like 6 or 7 Super Saiyans between us, and I think we were at Super Saiyan level. I don't think we were. Well, what's his name? Kato might have jumped it too, but I wasn't about all that. So this time, I think my session got fast forwarded about a week. The interesting encounter I had from that gym thing is I met this young kid named Rohan, who was a he said he crafted his own sword, and what I kind of needed for my business was someone to aid in kind of the metal smithing part, so I could focus more on the mystic smithing. And it's something I had kind of talked about for a while in the time leading up to this. Like, oh, an apprentice would probably be a good idea. So this kid like showed some real potential at this situation, and I told him to like meet me up at the forge and everything like that, and he didn't show up. So I had this previous relationship with this character, this I don't say bounty hunter, private investigator type. Her name was Benny Saka, and she was a Super Saiyan. I think she was a Super Saiyan 2 as well. So she's about on my level. Well, I say that, but kind of a quirky, interesting character. Like definitely a different way of looking about the world. Uh, and what had happened was she had asked for a like when I get orders, like I get like an equal mix of military grade, which is kind of like for your mass fighting, your one-on-one style weapons, where it's like people who are looking. And that's something I found out, like the way people train to fight. We'll get into that later. Like a bit more like your one-on-one, like kind of stylized weapons, and then your ceremonial weapons. So she had ordered these set of 7 ceremonial daggers, and came up a little short on the price. So I worked a little thing out where it's like, hey, if I ever need something to look into or anything like that, we can make an arrangement. It's like cool. Uh, yeah, so I basically hit her up with that. Was like, listen, I'm looking for this kid Rohan, or I was looking for this kid. I originally didn't say about Rohan, and then she sent me the information him, and I was looking for Form Up Girl, if you guys remember her, because my plan was to make Rohan my apprentice, but I wasn't going to have him just be like, he's not just going to be a blacksmith or anything like that. You're saying you got to learn how to fight too, so I needed someone to kind of be his partner in that regard, and who better than Form Up Girl, or who worse, as we'll later come to find out. So I meet up with Benny Saka at this kind of like nightclub kind of place, and she's like she's kind of like a jack of all trades person, and she hooked me up with this drink, which I thought was from in the bar, but it was apparently a very powerful psychedelic that she had mixed and brought in with her. So we went on excuse me, we went on a bit of a trip with that. Uh, Thankfully, there was no lasting effects that I could see, but lesson learned on that one. Yeah, she had found the 2 files, the 2 people I was looking for. Form Up Girl's like 20, Rohan's like 18. So it's like they're kids, but like I'm still, I think I'm only like 24, 25, 26. I want to say 26. So like they're a little younger than me and everything like that. But man, are they rough around the edges when it comes to actual like Saiyan potential. Like Rohan at least has the crafting thing, but I was like, yeah, we're gonna see about crafting them into warriors as well as having people to help me out around the shop. That way I can focus more on the stuff that I need to do. Um, yeah, so we get to talking about all that, and we end up going to some more private space because she hates the noise and she's kind of weird and quirky. Like I said, she kind of views the universe as something to be taken apart and put back together in a better way, and she does it with her appetizers. And they said she brews her own drinks apparently that have some crazy properties. Like I looked like I was walking in space, and I jumped on the surface of the sun. It was a soft pillow, and it was all kind of trippy. So she's a bit of an oddball, but yeah. So you know how it is that charisma dump stat. You can never use that. So my character has a pretty high stat in it. And she starts to come on to me whenever I say about getting something private and everything. So we get the business out of the way and make way for the pleasure. You know, whoever said you should mix those two, they don't know what they're talking about. Like, I could see no problems coming from this down the line. But yeah. So some stuff goes on there. There was an interesting sheet thing said before that where it's something about like things that happen that can seem happenstance and unimportant at the time might like save your life at a later time. And it was just kind of like an interesting way of looking at things like encounters or relationships or, you know, even like little things that you might discover now, you know, might help you at a later date, which like I said is true. That's a fair point. Like it's not too spacey or anything like that. But it was an interesting encounter to say the least. And I told the DM, I was like 10 to 1, she's not there when I wake up. And she was gone. I was gonna say, because I was about to make the joke, why are you still here? But no, we had a good time. So I basically set the next day up where, hey, let's go look for, assuming she had the information, I kind of had some time set aside where I can go find these two people. The first person I go look for is Rohan. And he's one of the people that are at the mercy of. And they're kind of like, if you're at the mercy of, like, it's the lowest status you can be. And, like, it's usually reserved for people who more commonly are, I don't want to say outlaws so much, but like just like almost non-citizens, non-registered, that kind of thing. But you could also be like have a criminal past, like if you were a felon or something like that. I think you'd be of the mercy. So this kid like is that. I come to find out he's homeless. It's just a real case that you gotta, you know, go in there and help a dude out. But like I said, he did show some real promise as far as his crafting abilities go. So I'm interested in looking into it. I go down. So the thing is on the world I'm on is called Lygos 4. Is I figured like I'm Super Saiyan 2, but like I'm just gonna, you know, whenever I go around like that was on the other side of the planet, and I think it took me about 15 minutes to get there in Super Saiyan, because like I feel like that's a nice cruising speed. And yeah, like I'm still kind of getting the feel for just how nutty Super Saiyan can be inside of Legend. And I know like there's a lot of people out there who are really powerful and like way beyond that, but like even like just Super Saiyans are nasty. So yeah, halfway around the planet, 15 minutes, I'd call that a win. That's not without like pushing my speed. That's not without using my massive speed boost from freaking the Harlequin thing that I have. And I get there, and it's kind of like one of those Home Depot like immigrant style workers. Like you basically, people point to who they want, they get on the ship, and they go out to some mining job or something like that. Like there's a lot of like the common Saiyans are miners, like that kind of thing. Like they do like industrial work, they do like factory work, they do mining. Like that's a big part of like this Saiyan empire. And I got some interesting information about like some of the planets and stuff like that. I'll do that some other time, because I don't know if it's something like video worthy, but it's just like, to me it was interesting to see how many people were under my uncle's. It would be, I think it was my uncle's kind of section of the empire, whereas like my dad's one of his brothers, so he's one of the, or maybe it's my grandfather. I think it's the grandfather, and then the three brothers are below that. But I can look it up. I should know that, but we're not going to look it up right now. It's not important. So I managed to start looking through this crowd of people, and I'm kind of hovering up there, like, hovering above, like as a Super Saiyan. Now there's a couple Super Saiyans like that are kind of security. Like that's what I've come to find out is, depending on the security, like it usually ranges anywhere between like Super Saiyan 1s and Super Saiyan 3s. There's not many Super Saiyan 3s, but like they're reserved for like very high up kind of people. Super Saiyan 2s are a decent, like if you're trying to run like security in a place full of Saiyans, like Super Saiyan is not special enough to usually cover it, but like Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, depending on what you're doing, seems to be like the good level where you can handle a lot of Saiyans that would come your way. Because as I've come to find out, like it's some of these things that I've seen, it's like there's a decent amount of Super Saiyans out there, and I guess it makes sense because of just how many people like I think like the people in my system where they're under is like there's 150 billion people, and it's like yeah, I guess amongst that there are a lot of Super Saiyans. Like it's not like this insanely uncommon thing. Which makes like the Arcanian Empire kind of scary, and like I said, because we're not even a main house, like we're one of the minor houses, and we've got that many people. I think our empire, like the actual empire, is like measured in trillions of people, and it's just yeah, pretty big. Anyway, this part is more formalities and stuff like that. Like you know how it is. You don't want to go in there and like grab a kid up or anything like that. So like I sit there and I talk to guards and everything, kind of work my way around, figure out who I got to talk to, find the kid, say, hey, listen, I'm disappointed you didn't come to the shop. I told you, I extended the offer and you didn't come through. And I came to find out that like there's a chance like you get caught like out of the wrong position or like outside your station, you get shipped off to some harsh mining planets. That's why I didn't get through it. So I said, fine, whatever. You still have the position because I do need someone who is a gifted talent. But I also, like I said, as a starting kind of thing, I kind of had I think Everest is kind of based on his position in the family has a bit of a soft spot for people who are non-traditional when it comes to saying kind of things. So I said, all right, pack your things, let's go. He's like, well, I've got all my things in the duffel bag. I was like, right, you're homeless. And I didn't tell him that at the time. But, yeah, I said, let's go. So I explained to DM, like, DM, I'm going to use this trip as a chance to get to know him and everything like that, see how much of a family he has. He had, like, a sister, and she's no longer around. I was like, man, this kid's making it rough. Like I said, it's just finding a little bit about him, what he wants to do, what he wants, like, what his ideas are, that kind of thing. I let him know a little about myself, tell him a couple things like he was saying like, oh, I got to go back to my place and everything like that, trying to save face. And I was like, listen, man, like if we're gonna build this is gonna be a relationship of trust. Like you need to be honest with me. He's like, I don't have a place to go. I said, I know. Just no one's gonna shame you for who or what you are. Like it's about who you're gonna become, that kind of thing. Inspiring the youth and all that kind of stuff. That comes into play very shortly. So I sense like there's a lot of Super Saiyans ahead of me, and it's not in any kind of normal position, like right on. So I'm just flying by to my own business, and apparently I think like okay, so here's a good idea is if you're a Super Saiyan flying around and something's going on, other Super Saiyans or other Super Saiyan 2s, especially those kind of in security or guard duty, will usually come up and see what you're up to. And it's just kind of like a security protocol. Like you tend to send someone who's as powerful as a Super Saiyan, which I know everyone's like, ha ha ha, Super Saiyan powerful. No, like I mean, like when you're talking like regular people and everything like that, and there's a Super Saiyan out there, you want to make sure they're not there to start any trouble. I think is the general premise. Because I noticed like every time I was flying around as a Super Saiyan, anytime I flew by something, there was always another Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 2 there to meet me. And it's like, oh, right on, guys. Like, hey, what's up? And they're like, oh, it's Emrys. Like, Emrys, like, of the blood, which is, like, that high family, the class thing. So, a little class privilege and all that fun stuff that comes with it. So this dude shows up. What's his name? Oh, I think it's Mitsuraka? Whatever her name was. She didn't show up. She's this SS3 who runs Lygos 4, like the planet I'm directly on. And this dude Tetsu shows up, and he's kind of like one of her underlings, and he's overseeing these drills. That's why there's there's like so many Super Saiyans down there. And he recognizes me, and I introduce myself. There's a nice formal introduction, and he's like, would you like to see what's going on? And I'm like, okay, we'll do the family duty here because it's like if you're one of those people, they're doing military training drills, like let's check out the recruits and all that stuff. And it's, bring Rohan with me. We fly down, and they've got this thing set up called the Ring of Pain. And it's this ring full of Super Saiyans, and inside there's a bunch of regular Saiyans, and they're all just like getting it in, like kind of like this open brawl of no blast attacks or anything like that, but all hand-to-hand combat. And he's saying like the Ring of Pain is like one of training techniques like to help people, because that's what I was getting into is like as far as fighting styles go. Uh, Soldiers are more adept at fighting multiple opponents, but weaker at 1v1s. Whereas the kind of training I received is more like of a 1v1 thing. Because like if you're expecting to rise through the ranks, like you're expected to just be more powerful than the masses, and then that ability to fight multiple opponents isn't as important. Now we all know how real world works and everything like that, but it's like it's one of those ones where if you're a Super Saiyan 2, you might be able to fight like 6, 7 Super Saiyan 1s if you're a competent fighter and everything. Depending on how good you are, like how physically adept, what your powers are and stuff like that. So it's definitely a different style of fighting, but like I said, I think the fighting style I have is based on the assumption that if I'm fighting a lot of opponents, I'm probably going to be one of the more powerful people out there, which as we know isn't universally true or anything like that. But I think that was like what the DM was. I mean, he wasn't hitting at. That's what I inferred from it, because they were saying like that one of the people I saw, there was this girl actually, she was about 17, was at the center, and she was getting in like really good hand-to-hand technique, and she was fighting off a lot of different people, and like as you got to the closer to the center of the ring, the more adept people tend to be out there. So I'm there like shooting talking shop with this Tetsuo guy and telling about my new apprentice, and I was like I needed someone for myself here to train up, and like we're just passing through everything, and I compliment the girl in the center to him, like she seems like she has a lot of talent, and talent that's been well trained. So you got to compliment the trainers as well as the individual talent that they possibly sought out. So it's like just I don't want to say buttering it up, but you know what I mean, like carrying the company line, like towing the company line. Like when you're one of those household things, you go in, you expect the troops, you do a little raise morale. If you see any glaring problems, you say this needs addressed, that kind of thing. But no, like we're there to leave a good impression. And so he says, I'll call her over. I was like, no, that's not necessary. Like, she's in the middle of training. He's like, no, it'd be an honor for her to meet you. And I was like, fair enough. So she comes over, and she's like I said, she's definitely very nice, a little embarrassed as far as like the compliments she gives, because I do compliment her. I said like your form is excellent. Like I said, I basically said like some of that comes from talent, but it also it's also obvious it comes from training that talent properly with like excellent teachers, which again it's like pay both compliments to the fighter and the trainer, that kind of thing. And she's kind of like I'm uninitiated. Now uninitiated Saiyans are normal Saiyans, they're not arcane Saiyans, like they don't have any kind of mystical ties. So I have an idea in my head, and I figure it's going to go terrible. And I explained it to the DM first because I didn't want it to, like, I wanted to I wanted him to know where I was going with it at least, rather than trying to explain it as I go. And so what I did to her is I said there's a reason why we fight side by side with Arcanian and uninitiated alike, and said there's basically place on the battlefield for both of us. And I told her, I told the DM, I was like, DM, as I'm saying this, I use my Harlequin ability, and I grant her the massive speed boost, because like I said, I can do the speed boost for myself at a really potent level, or I can split it up to I think 5 targets for a lesser level for like 25 seconds each. And I was like, DM, I'm going to do that for her. And I basically extended her hand, and I said, and I basically gave her that speech about like fighting side by side and everything like that. And I told her like, you have 20 seconds, kind of like show me what you've really got. So she's basically got this. There's this like mask of the Harlequin that comes over your face, like this energy looking at that mask, and it comes over my face at the same time too. Not a lot of people know about this or what it does or anything like that. Like it's a little on the obscure side. Like that's one of the big things with Arcanian Saiyans is a lot of their stuff is a mystery until you fight them. Like you don't know. You might be able to identify the kind of magic they use, like whether it's life or, mind or anything like that. But what exactly it does, that's a challenge in its own right. So people see this weird looking mask come over me and her, and I'm making direct eye contact, and I've got her hand in that Saiyan grip where you're both gripping your forehands. I tell you, you've got 20 seconds, show me what you can do. And I was like, I figured it came off like, oh, he's just like inspired her or something like that, or maybe something mystic. So she takes off back to the ring, gets in there, and she's just wiping the floor with everybody, and just like bang, 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 like machine gun punches. Some bigger guy, shows up, and like he's like actually able to stand. She switches to kicks and just bang, 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 like machine gun kicks him up in the air, bang, slams him back down to the ground, and people just like they're starting to watch this, like, oh shoot, like this is someone who's just beyond where everyone else is in this level. And I'm like, yeah, all right, man, you do you. Yeah, like I said, yeah, kind of lesson learned. Whereas like you want to stick by the us blood of kind of things. Like we'll make you better warriors just by being in our presence, kind of thing. Like that's with someone with her potential and everything like that, getting to be able to see that, I thought it would be a fun little thing to do for me. So at the end of the thing, like she's got this group of people like around her, and like it looks like they're gonna try to jump her at once, and she just kind of like tenses up, and everyone just kind of backs off. It was really epic. Like she killed it. Her name was Pan of Whis, which I think means that she's from a planet called Whis. And yeah, I don't know where it is. Like that was the Demi even said, like, you don't know where it is. Like it's probably some random planet in the Republic. And yeah, so that's that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And the guy looks at me and he's like, what did you do? I was like, it's like, it is what I do. It's what I do. It's what I did. Like I didn't explain it to her or anything like that. And then she starts to power up and everything like that, like really pushing herself, like really pushing her body. Like she must have been hyped up on this new level of speed, this new level of power she experienced and everything. So she starts pushing hard, and she starts to show the signs of going Super Saiyan, and then like slips out of it. Excuse me. And then she digs down really deep again, and this time with much more effort and much more beautifully described by the DM, like manages to push through and hits Super Saiyan, and everyone like in the center of the crowd is just wilding out. And the guy Tetsuo looks over to me like, "What? Like, can you just like grant Super Saiyan status to people? Is that what you're showing me?" I was like, "No, no." Like, I was like, it was a little bit me and it was a lot her, but it's like it is something I can do, even though I can't make people Super Saiyans. But you know what I mean? Like, it was cool because she made me look really good, is what it amounted to, and I was like, I'll take it. So she's like exhausted. Like I guess like that first time transformation, especially for someone so young. She's 17, and I think I was 17 when I first transformed. So I said there might be a little rivalry there. I might have to like come back and smack her down so she doesn't get too far ahead of me. You know how those NPCs get. So she, like, they basically said, take her to medical, make sure she didn't overdo it, because it was one of those ones where she pushed through a lot more than. So I guess like if you're ready to hit Super Saiyan, your body's usually pretty good, but if you push it too early, sometimes you can kind of mess yourself up. And she pushed it pretty hard, and I think it might have been like as a result of that open-ended speed boost she got, where it's just like it's such a nutty level of speed than what she's normally used to, that she's like, all right, I can push this power level. But she did get it, and she did hit Super Saiyan. So the leader of this dude, this older like dark-skinned Super Saiyan 2 named Yorimaru, came over, and he wants to know what's up here. And I was like, no, like, listen, like, I'm passing through. I've got my new apprentice here. I made a couple cracks before he showed up about. I was telling Tetsuo, I was like, Ring of Pain, huh? I was like, that gives you some good, interesting ideas for some training options like that. And this like poor kid Rohan's like, wait, what? And the older dude comes over, and he wants to know the same thing. And I kind of recap what had happened, and I introduced him to my apprentice, who's very, very weak, like who's got a lot of work to go. But like the dude doesn't disrespect or anything like that. Like Rohan goes to shake his hand, and Yorimaru's like, man, you need to put some weights on that hand. You need to get some training in, like, because he recognizes it right off the bat. And I kind of nod to Yorimaru, like, yeah, like we got a lot of work to go. And he says, so I can put you down like for the Ring of Pain in a month. And I looked at Rohan, and I looked back to Yorimaru, and Rohan's like, sure. And it's like, a month it is, and he starts to pencil something in. And I was like, right on. Like, we'll be back here in a month. that's late. That gets addressed later. It was like one of my, Emrys teaching lessons where, anyway, like we'll get to that in a second. We kind of do our, I'm like, he's like, do you want a tour or anything else? I was like, no, like, honestly, I was just passing through. They asked me if I wanted to see. I said, sure. And I was like, I'm happy I can help in any way. Everything looks great here. And, he's happy to see it. He goes off on his own road. Tetsu goes off, and Rohan and I head back off to the thing. He flies very slow, so this time I'm like, listen, man, I was like, we're going to be hours before we get there, so we're going to get there a little easier this time. And I was like, hold on. So he holds on to my back, and I take off at 60 or 80% speed at Super Saiyan. He just can't hold on to me at all. So I was like, oh man, this is going to be rough. So he was like, all right, I'll be ready this time. I'll be ready. So I just picked him up, put him on my shoulder. And you could tell he was a little dejected by it because he wanted to be able to do it on his own. But you know what? That comes into a lesson later into play. We get back to my place. I take him out for lunch because he's probably starving, and I could eat. Go get some noodles, and we go back to my place. And then I didn't know if I was gonna get this set up or anything like that because I didn't want to go and remodel a bunch of stuff for people that I didn't know would be showing up. So I was like, all right, we're gonna go out. We're gonna get the basic essentials here to get you set up. Get you a bed to sleep on. There's a couple places you can kind of shower and use facilities. They're not in the little place that he's gonna stay in. They're these kind of I don't say it's not like a backyard shed, but it's like a warehouse kind of thing. But it's got plenty of room in it. And I was like, so I'm gonna go out and get some furnishings for it. But I was like, as far as plumbing goes, it's one of those ones if you're in back in the college dorms where it's you have a shared bathroom, but it's only gonna be 2 people, so it's not bad for them. Plus this kid's homeless, so anything's an upgrade for him. And that's where as we're doing this stuff, going and getting him his essential supplies to stay here, I kind of dropped the next lesson on him. I'm like, listen, I was like, you need to stop pretending you're anything but what you are. I was like, if you don't feel like you'll be ready in a month, you need to let people know that it's an unrealistic expectation for where you are. Because if you give someone your word you're going to be there in a month, you're going to be there in a month. And I said, I'll talk to him and see if I can't get a small extension for you, but I'm going to expect more out of you then too. He's going to be out there in the outer ring of the circle of pain in a month. I was like, no, if we're going to push it back to 3 months, 4 months, then you're going to be in the center of that ring, that kind of thing. So it's it was kind of one of those lessons where, stop, because that's where he was saying that he had some stuff to take care of at his home, and I knew he was homeless from the private investigator, and I was like, you need to stop pretending you're anything but what you are. You need to focus on what you'll become, and then not worry about what people think about you or your perception of things. So I was like, oh man, Emrys might not be a bad teacher when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I asked the DM at some point, DM, do I feel like I could even transfer what I know to these poor people? He's like, yeah, they'll definitely be better for being around you. We'll see how good of a teacher you end up being. I was like, all right, I got some good Emrys sayings and stuff like that. Some good life lessons to teach the youngsters already. So we're off in a good thing. I joke with the DM, it's Emrys' home for youngsters with no potential instead of gifted youngsters, because that's apparently what I'm forming up at this point. They have very little potentials as actual Saiyans, as opposed to, someone who's very gifted or very innately talented, what's her name was, Pan. And I had told him at some point, I was like, maybe we should go back and get Pan as your training partner. And I was like, I just tell you guys to fight. He just kind of looks like this pale thing of, I'm not the overly serious trainer type. I'm not gonna be I don't think quite as bad as Jiraiya or something like that. But somewhere a happy medium between someone who's there to push you, not let you slack off, but not make your life miserable in the process. So I tell him listen, I've got a training partner in line for you, or I want you to have a training partner, someone who's near your level, because if you're going to be my apprentice, you're not going to be just someone who sits in the forge all day to fight as well. And I said, this is not one of those Emrys teaching idioms or messages. It's I feel like the best person to wield a blade or wield a weapon is also the person who has a hand in crafting it, because they know it better than anyone else. It was there from like their birth or their inception or inside their mind before even Hammer met Steel. Like you have the idea of this weapon, and then being able to transfer that to the actual application of the use of the weapon, like it takes it to another level. Now I'm not at that level yet, but it just seemed like something cool to say. So we'll go from there. I tell him that I was like, all right, listen, make yourself at home, get yourself set up here. We got like the boxes and everything. You can unpackage them. I'm gonna go grab the second person I was looking for, and it's Form Up Girl. I think you guys heard me talk about her. I was re-inspired to go find her again because after learning that Flip Khan turned to Darth Aegis inside Generations, I said I can't let another Flip or another Form Up Girl eventually turn evil. I've got to go out and make sure that the world treats her right. Like I said, if I can go back and save Flip and redeem him, DM, you got all my points. So I was like, we're not going to make that mistake again. And man, it already seems like a mistake. I come to find out she's at this other training facility. I think it starts at the end. Where is it? Novella or something like that. Oh, Ravenel. That's what it was. Did not start with an N. Ravenel's Wonders is this training facility. And it's huge. Like, we're talking like thousands, if not tens of thousands Saiyans training at some of these bigger facilities. And it's like, that's just kind of like, like you had like that working class of Saiyan, but a lot of times like they'll still kind of train themselves up because that's a way to gain status in like Saiyan society, is hitting like that Super Saiyan level. It's like you can break out of those drudges of like being a miner or a farmer or a manufacturer, I think, if you can hit Super Saiyan. Like you become a proper soldier. And I imagine like many militaristic nations, like you think like Rome, or you think like the Spartans would be a good example. Is like, it's like you raise that status of professional military. Like it's definitely a prestigious kind of thing. It's not the end all be all. It's not like you're living on easy street, but like you're not like in there in the mines, 18 hours a day or whatever awful that stuff goes on. So she's at this Ravenel's training facility, but she isn't even in yet. She's basically the person who like cleans the floors and does a lot of the groundswork and janitorial type stuff. And it's like what it seems like is it's a hope to get herself in there. And what's it called? Benny Saka. She shows me all these pictures, and she shows me almost a comical amount of pictures of her just looking mad all the time, doing these like menial tasks and everything like that. And I was like, you really painted a picture with this one, didn't you? So I had a good laugh at her expense. Unfortunately, her name comes out to be Saya. She's Grayson Makoto, so she's at least not like a criminal or undocumented or anything like that. But yeah, we put a name to Form Up Girl. I'll still refer to her as Form Up Girl as much as possible because Form Up Girl is priceless. So I fly out there again, like in Super Saiyan. It takes me about 5 minutes this time because it's not halfway around the planet. It's like hundreds and hundreds, or probably thousands of miles off. But yeah, I get there, and again I'm greeted by 2 Super Saiyan 2s. I'm like, man, like maybe I should start flying around in Super Saiyan 2 instead of Super Saiyan 1. And that was about the time the DM described to me. It's like, if you're running like a very high-end facility or something like that, or like a military training exercise, that you're going to expect to see like at least Super Saiyan 2s kind of making sure that anyone who shows up, because there's enough Super Saiyans where it's like, usually you're not going to see a group of Super Saiyan 2s roll up on a thing and be like, hey, let's start some trouble. But apparently you can see a group of Super Saiyan 1s do that. So that's why I was like maybe I should just run around Super Saiyan 2 more. Like DM, I assumed that like Super Saiyan 1 was like cruise control speed, whereas Super Saiyan 2 was fighting speed. So these 2 people show up and they meet me, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm looking for someone here. Saya, the Grayson Makoto, and it's a guy and a girl, and his name was like Hiro and Yana, I think it was. And they're like, wait, the guy's like, I'm not sure if I know that name. And the girl's like, you want the janitor? Because like they recognize me outright. Like they didn't have to ask my name or like that, because I think this training facility is close enough to kind of where our family operates that they know who I am. And like, why? Like, what do you want with her? And it's hilarious because that was something I missed earlier, was one of the, I can't remember if it was Tetsu or Yurimaru asked me what my plans were for Rohan, because he seemed like such a someone who would be like unfit to be trained by me in a sense. Like, given my stat, it'd be kind of like early Vegeta training Goku kind of thing. Only I'm not early Vegeta or anything. Like, I'd be like 2 steps down from early Vegeta, but still like training some nobody, some random and stuff like that. And I was like, he's gonna be my apprentice, but like as a fighter amongst other things. And I was like, oh, did that sound sexual, DM? Because I didn't mean it. Because like the guy kind of looked at me weird. And I was like, I didn't mean it to sound that way. And then, luckily we cleared things up. The DM explained it didn't seem like he took it that way. But fast forwarding here now, it's like, why the heck is Emrys out here? You're creating like these basically homeless kids. I mean, they're not kids. Like, they're 17 and 20. They're practically adults. But like, why is he out here recruiting these people? It's like, it seems like one of those like weird sex things. It's not a weird sex thing, is it? Like, no, I promise you, it's not. No matter how, like, yes, I have them sleeping in warehouses at the moment and everything like that. And, like, listen, it was like all this stuff that looked bad on the outside, but there's nothing like that going on. Anyway, they take me to form up girl. She's cleaning like some stable type things and like these really sad looking dirty overalls. And the 2 people leave and they said, all right, we'll leave you to it. I was like, yeah, because I asked them, I was like, is there anything I need to do, like, to paperwork, like, because I know she might be employed here or anything like that. And they're like, the guy's like, yeah, I'll look into it. And the girl's like, no, she's the freaking floor scrubber. We don't need to like do anything. He can take her, like, because I guess, and this woman's like in her 50s, like the woman who is telling me this, and she's like, because she's just like, she's a handful, like she's, I don't want to say a troublemaker so much, but like, just, man, she's got some issues with authority and fighting above her class level and just some nonsense like that. And so they said, okay, we'll leave you to it here, and we'll be back here in a little bit. We've got some other stuff to attend to. I said, cool. All right. I show up, form up girls there with some headphones on, bouncing along, raking up the like the stables and stuff and cleaning and everything. So she turns around, like, it's one of those ones, like, I walking up to her, and she turns around and like cocks the rake back, like when I catch her by surprise, knocks the headphones off, like she's gonna like impale me with the rake. I'm just kind of looking at her, and she's like, what are you doing here? What do you want? And so I do the only thing I could say. I tell her, form up, because if you remember our first relationship, our first meeting, is she shows up and she like picks these random 2 Super Saiyans out there, and she's like, form up, like Kato and I, because I think we were Super Saiyan at the time. And it's like she's nowhere near a level or anything. And I was like, oh, I appreciate that tenacity and the heart, like wanting to learn from someone better than you and all that kind of fun stuff. So I tell her that, and she's like, wait, what? And I said, form up. And so we start, like, she starts to go at it and throw punches, and, punches and kicks, and they're awful. Like, oh my gosh, like, the DM is telling me how awful they are. I'm like, DM, this is going to be such a mistake. Like, why am I doing this? I don't know if the DM's last hope that he could talk me out of, like, recruiting this no-name NPC to my school of non-gifted youngsters, like, for me being like the failure version of Professor X or what it was, but it didn't work. So I'm like explaining to her, like, in short terms, like, where her flaws are, like, you're overly telegraphing or leaving this side open or something like that, and I'm kind of pushing her back and all this other stuff. It's like, it's obviously a very one-sided fight, and she gets frustrated very quick, and she says, all I need to do is land one punch. And I was like, it's like one of those ones where it's like, no, like, you don't. I'm a freaking Super Saiyan now. I'm a Super Saiyan 2, but I'm only a Super Saiyan now, and you're nowhere near my level. And she says that, and I kind of get like this serious snap look on my face, and I was like, DM, I fly over to her and punch beside her head. And he's like, how fast do you do it, player? And I was like, like, like 60, 80%, I'm looking to be fast, but like, I'm not looking to blow her away. And he's like, well, okay, well, if you do it like that, you're just going to destroy this entire building from like the force of your movement. I was like, oh DM, I didn't realize. So like, it's like one of those ones, like, you Super Saiyans are like are really potent and everything like that, but you don't realize, like, I'm not hitting anything with a punch. It's just that force of movement would basically blow this barn away in such a small gap, like going that. So I was like, all right, well, I do it at a level where I think the building would be safe, but to be enough where I basically disappear and So I do it and woof, kind of like send everything flying up, and like it's one of those moments where all the straw blows up, and it's like there's that brief pause where everything's kind of hovering as the air kind of pushes itself up. And I tell her, like, one of the first things as far as training goes is you need to understand that you have limits, and you need to fight within those limits that you can, so that you have a hope of expanding them. And she's like, why are you telling me all this? And I said, I'm here because I need a training partner for my apprentice. And she takes that in the worst way possible, like, oh, I'm just there to make your apprentice better. And which, like I said, I could have maybe worded it better. And I like, no. I was like, you'll both be my apprentice. I was like, you'll both be there to raise each other up. And she's kind of looking like completely blown away. And she's like, wait, you want me? And I was like, it's not a demand, it's an offer. Or she said something like, because she kind of like was playing hard to get. And I said, it's not a demand, it's an offer. You can choose to walk away from it, and I'll find somebody else. It's like, why? And I said, like the level of tenacity that she has. You know, for me, it's like some Joe out of character region. But like Emerus kind of sees like her tenacity, and she's not like Emerus was kind of like, I don't want to say the run of the litter, but like because he hit Super Saiyan early when he was young. Like he's no slouch by any means, but like definitely as kind of the youngest kid, like he always had people that were above him that he was trying to play catch up to. So like I guess he kind of saw that in her a little bit. At any rate. She kind of looks watery-eyed. I'm thinking she's going to like burst into tears or something like that. And here she turns around and throws up. I was like, damn, this is such a terrible idea. Why am I still going through with this? But Emerus remains firm to the cause of getting form-up girl in his ranks. So we talk a little bit more after she kind of composes herself. And she says she'll do it. I said, that's great. I've got a place set up for you. If you need to collect your belongings or anything like that, I'm ready to go whenever you are. And she's like, screw all that. Like, we can get out of here. And the two other Saiyans show up as we're going to leave. They ask us, you know, kind of confirming that I am taking her away. The woman is grateful because this freaking kid is a little headache. She's not a kid. She's 20, but she's young. You know, it's a headache. Real issue with authority. And she's like, the woman's like, we'll bill you for the overall. So she takes him off and throws him at this Super Saiyan. And again, like, you're a Super Saiyan, like, you're not going to hit them or anything like that. She just like, kind of reaches out nonchalantly and grabs the overalls. And I was like, DM, please don't let me bring you, because that was like the whole thing about like the Rohan using him for other things. Like, and I didn't want to say like I'm using him to like Smith as apprentice, because I know a lot of people kind of look down on me already because I'm a Smith. Or not, they don't look down on me necessarily, but they feel like I'd be better served as just being a straight warrior as opposed to kind of splitting my things, which they have a fair point, but you know, screw them. But anyway, like, so I was like, please let her be wearing pants or something, DM, because it was like, I'm not bringing back like someone like in a pair of underwear, like this girl in a pair of underwear, and people are like, oh yeah, he's definitely bringing them back for a sex thing or something like that. Like, it's just so awful and awkward. But luckily she had some tights on underneath, so it wasn't too creepy or anything. And I said, all right, let's go. And I do the same thing where I kind of put her under, or no, yeah, I can't remember if I put her under my, yeah, I do, I put her under my shoulder, and kind of like do the carry thing and fly off back to my place. Session's almost over. It seems like a lot freaking happened. It was a long session. I think we started around 10 and went till 2, so it was a long one, but a lot happened, and I feel like I'm probably leaving some of it out here too. Like, I'm just kind of skimming the details at the top. I get back to my shop, and there's people in there, and they sense weird. There's a freaking Super Saiyan 2, and there's a Super Saiyan V. Both are women. The one is very fancy dressed, like looks very important and everything like that. I can't see her face, so I don't know who she is, but like kind of like dressed in blue silk and everything. And the Super Saiyan 3 is like in this really like professional looking, or not ornate armor, but like very high class armor. I was like, oh, right on, like these people are somebody, and they're in my shop. And it's like, yeah, that's not completely out of character or anything like that. Like, I'm good at what I do, and I come from a line where, you know, like my mom basically started this, one of the more famous weapon crafting things within our empire. I don't know about the whole Saiyan Empire. No, like, yeah, okay, so I come to find out this woman is like one of the top 100 wealthiest people within the entire Arcanian Empire. Arcanian Saiyan Empire. That's like the whole like trillions of people. That's not just our portion or anything like that. So my mom started that group and got out of it. I come to find out this woman is Lane of Lore is her formal name, and she's also Matriarch Lane because she's one of the head of the major houses. And Scylla is this guard of hers. They have these weird wristbands on, and I come to find out like this is an interesting thing in like Saiyan mechanics is, I think like they let you walk around at your power level. Maybe I don't know. Like I'm just gonna say this. It might not be absolutely true, but they sensed like they were normal Saiyans, but they were like had all the appearances of Super Saiyan 2 and Super Saiyan 3 respectively. Um, Lane's band was black, Scylla's was white. No, Lane's was white, Scylla's was black. I come to find out these bands are a part of the Republic where Saiyans I think can walk around at their higher levels without being quite as disruptive. And if you're black, that means that you're at your highest level. If you're white, that means you're at least one level below what it is. So if you see a Super Saiyan 2 with a white band, it means they're at least a Super Saiyan 3. But anyway, I find out this is Lane of Lore. So I was like, oh, like Lane. Formerly I used for like formal titles and everything like that. And I'm like, what can I do for you? Because like she's like the owner of this insanely large, corporation. She's insanely wealthy, powerful, influence, all that kind of stuff, and she's here in my shop. So like I go from being the big wig as far as Lygos 4, like, oh, it's Emrys of the Blood, like people like recognize the name, the face, the family status, and they kind of, I don't say they bend the knee or anything like that, but like they show proper respect. So now I'm doing the one where I'm showing the proper respect to this person, and like it's part of like a customer relations kind of thing too. Like you want them to feel special. Now this person is special, but it's like it works out. And yeah, like Scylla is apparently very on guard, and like she doesn't want to leave Lane's side, and she's like, I kind of looked at it because I was kind of thinking like, oh man, like Rohan betrayed me, and he has people in my shop raiding it already. Like I have to go kill this kid, and it's just be just me and Form Up Girl. But luckily it wasn't the case. But she's like, I hope you're not cross with your apprentice here. And I was like, no. I was like, I hope he accommodated you to the best of his abilities. He's very new. He's like, right, the coffee. And she asked if we could get some one-on-one time together. Like, right on, yeah, like absolutely. Like, and and it kind of like one of those ones where when you have like someone that big coming in, it'd be like Jeff Bezos or something like that coming into your mom and pop store and be like, listen, I need you for something. And it's like, oh yeah, sure, whatever you need. It's like also your mom helped start Amazon. And it's like they're coming back to you now. It's like, oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm like, yeah, of course, whatever you need. So Scylla and Rohan start heading out, and Form Up Girl's like, you okay, boss? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine, Form Up Girl. You can go outside. I was like, oh damn, this is gonna be such a mistake. It's like, I'm gonna go out there and she's gonna be like dead by the Super Saiyan 3's hands. I was like, well, that was a session well spent where I got my 2 apprentices killed, and because they decided to pick a fight with the Super Saiyan 3 or something like that. But she says like there's this something very important, that something is potentially life and death, or that is life and death. And I was like, oh wow. And the DM paused me there. He left me on a cliffhanger, like DMs can do sometimes. But yeah, like so it was not a very combat oriented session. It was a very interesting session. Like I said, it was me going out there finding my apprentice, recruiting a training partner for him, awakening Super Saiyan to this girl. Like there's a lot of crazy stuff that went on. And now apparently like there's this big wig type person out there that wants me to help them for something. And I was like, man, DM, like that's a lot of NPCs and stuff like that you did through. Like, you want to send me in the Forge for the next 10 sessions, and I'll just be doing some push-ups and support just some new weapons and stuff like that. We'll be good to go. You don't have to worry about it. But yeah, like that was my session. That's where it ended off. Apparently got some big stuff going on already. I have to tell her, listen, I can't help you. I got to train these 2 nobodies with no potential to one to be my assistant in the Forge, and the other to basically be a fighting companion to my apprentice. And like I said, I feel like they'll both be my apprentice, and we'll see what Form Up Girl's other potentials are. I didn't get to know her much because the trip back was much shorter. It was getting late, and I wanted to kind of wrap that up as opposed to taking the time I took with Rohan. I figured I'll get to know her some other time. So yeah, that's where we got to. That was my session. Who knows how long this recap will be. Good luck, guys.